On this episode of AV Week, the AR and VR segment of the industry is exploding over $2 billion. We take a look at what that means for the AV industry. Also looking at security and network infrastructure and how we can make our AV systems more secure. All that and more. Next on AV Week.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
This is AV Week, episode 483, recorded Friday, November 20th, 2020. Encrypt Me.
Support for AVNation is brought to you by Kramer, AV Beyond the Box, and by Draper.
This is AV Week, your weekly wrap-up of audio-visual news and information. My name is Tim Albright. I am your host. The time you're listening to this, here in the States, it will be the week of Thanksgiving, and my three guests will be partaking in that this week in some way, shape, or form. First and foremost, the reason that we're able to celebrate Thanksgiving is Simon Dudley, because he's English, and that was a really bad historical joke. So how are you, sir?
I'm great. I think it was thanks that they survived the winter, not thanks that they left England and forgot to bring any fishing hooks with them. Potato.
You know, it is somewhat. They left England because y'all were persecuting people.
No, actually, it wasn't that. It was that they weren't persecuting enough Catholics in England, and they decided to leave. But, history, mythology, you pick.
Well, hey, this is America, and never mind. We're not going to
mythology. It is.
Kirsten Nelson, help me. How are you? Thank you for joining us. You should hire her to write fantastic things and say smart things. How are you, ma'am?
Yes. Well, thanks for that promotional opportunity, Tim.
Absolutely. Last but not least, Corey Schaefer, my friend from the west side of the U.S., but also from QSC. So welcome, ma'am.
Hi, Tim. I'm thankful to be here this week.
There we go.
Oh, sweet.
Wrap that all around, kids. See what we did there? All right. Let's start here with our friends over at SCN and AV Network, the integration guide to secure AV. Yes, if you click on the link, it is it's an ad for one of their guides. But I wanted to point this out here because they interview folks like Cenex and some other folks talking about now that we are, at least a number of folks are working from home, you've got remote work happening, you have video conferencing, but you also have some pretty secure things happening. Corey, I want to start with you when it comes to network security and things that the manufacturers can do. When you guys look at things as simple as a pen test, which is penetration test, you put a device on a network.
Oh yeah, as simple as a pen test. Yeah.
Well, I shouldn't say that. It's not that doing the test is not simple, but that's like one of the pretty basic things you can do, right? Is putting a device on the network, seeing if it can be accessed from the outside, right? Seeing what you can penetrate. Beyond something like that, or QSC or other manufacturers lending equipment to institutions and companies to put it on their network. What are some of the things that manufacturers can do, not only to secure their products, but also to help their dealers understand the severity of this issue?
I think the biggest part of it is education, right? Because it gives your channel partners an opportunity to have a competitive weapon when they're talking with their customers. So we need to share and educate them on, yes, pen testing. We need to talk to them about encrypted security, VoIP standards. We need to be talking to them about things like, certificates, data versus audio encryption, right? And the full path of what's happening, because there's kind of some marketing that happens when you're like, hey, the audio is encrypted. Okay, that's really cool for the room, right? But we're not talking about the full side. So I think that we as manufacturers should be equipping our partners with education and with really with real meat as it relates to the security side, because customers are asking for that, and quite frankly, all the platforms as well. So, Microsoft Teams, Zoom, Zoom has had this pop up, year after year, right? So it's really important that as we go through these certification processes, that we're really communicating what that really means, And not just that it's a token badge that you get to put on, your marketing materials, but really fully giving our partners, being real partners and educating them and arming them with information they need to go in, because it's something they need to be. Integrators might not be investing in as far as having their staff go out and get trained, and they can really leverage us manufacturers for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Simon, same question from the manufacturer standpoint. You used to work for a video conferencing system, a dedicated video conferencing system, not a soft codec, and now you work for a peripheral company as well. Talk for a second about not that's all not all Logitech does, but that is part of the ecosystem.
Sure.
Talk for a second about that from the manufacturer standpoint.
Well, from Logitech's perspective, it's a USB device plugged into somebody else's product. So one could argue it's nothing to do with me, right? Which is not a reasonable answer. But I would say I would agree strongly with Corey that there is a massive opportunity for the resellers. And I actually think it's a rather badly missed one, because a lot of clients will say, well, the value add that you used to do about installing the gear. Well, I don't want anyone else in my office. So actually, we'll install it ourselves. And actually, we're finding a lot of customers now are just simply realizing this technology is really easy. They can install it themselves. They don't necessarily need an AV reseller to do it for them, depending on the spec. So don't shoot me for saying that. But the opportunity is to go to those clients and say, so what's your security profile look like? And the client will go, security profile. At which point, you've got the opportunity to go and sell them a bunch of services. Because one, it's incredibly important. And two, every company likes to talk about it, as in end user customer wants it, but their users don't want it. They think they want it, but actually it just gets in the way. So there's going to be that dichotomy. So as an example, I used to have an open room in my Zoom client. And if you just clicked on that, you got into my meeting room. And I suddenly discovered that people were using that room when I wasn't in it. So I thought, I'll have a waiting room and everyone will be muted when they get into my room, right? And it worked. But it also stopped the meetings being quite as smooth as they were. And so I went back to the old system, and I don't really care if someone's in my meeting room when no one's looking. And I know that's a ridiculous thing to do, but it's sort of the thing that users want to do. So IT departments want it all locked down. Users want it all open. They need some advice in the middle. Lots of security and consultancy should be sold in that arena. Go and do that. There's lots of money in it.
Well, what was the number for your meeting room there?
7.
I'll check that out after this. Kirsten,
just dial 7.
Just dial 7. Okay, I'll do that and 42. So when you're talking with not just integrators but also manufacturers, one of the things that Kirsten did for a number of years was help Avixa and Infocom coordinate the Tide events, but also the center stage. And talking about security has been one of those topics. When you're talking with various people throughout the industry, is it something that you think that we're taking it serious enough, I guess, or is it an area that we have room to grow and have room to learn?
Yeah, I think we finally did get to a point where it used to be a lot of just peripheral people saying, hey, you guys should pay attention to this. And everyone kind of shrugging. Well, sure, yeah. And I feel like we did get to a point where it is a regular part of the conversation. I think we still have a lot to learn, like Corey and Simon are saying. It's an opportunity to learn. And I think people can focus on that right now because it is an opportunity if you can bring that knowledge to your clients. But yeah, I've been excited to see things like even just like within your own podcast network, the IT factor with Frank Paticala, that's to be able to dig into that subject matter in a real way and talk. I feel like it's a great moment, a threshold moment too, because so many AV integration firms have had people working on site at giant enterprise clients. And that's where they're seeing that, oh, this is a real threat. And we should be able to answer questions around these questions. Like when I put a camera in here, I should be able to securely say, this is safe. So I think that finally this is the wave, and maybe this is the time that while people are kind of pausing as they're trying to gain new skills right now, maybe that's one of the areas they can dig into most. So,
And Kirsten, I also think it's an opportunity for the monitoring services as well, because able to monitor these touch points in the rooms, and there are so many monitoring and management tools available now. This is another great service that integrators should be offering.
yeah.
Absolutely. Let me ask you guys one final question as we wrap up here, and this is more for Corey and Kirsten, because Simon will say he's right. Is Simon right when he says that this is an opportunity, this is a possible revenue stream for integrators to say, you know what, here, if you don't know what your security system is, you don't know what your protocols are, let me help you. Is this an area where we as dealers can provide a service?
I believe it is. And I think that it's a differentiator. I don't think that our leaders are thinking about it. Not all of them are thinking about it. I think, and I actually downloaded that piece, and, Josh talking about small companies and the need for this, right? So it's probably maybe less so on the global type enterprise customers, because they either probably have staff or a partner that's doing that for them. But there's, as you look at where is the demographic and what's that client base, they could probably narrow it down and be able to offer a great service.
All right, the next story here comes to us from our friends over at Sound Communications. The augmented reality and virtual reality market has recorded more than $2 billion in investment this year. This is from a report by AVI Research. One of the things that is also come out of this is also $500 million in spending in mergers and acquisitions. Simon, I'm going to start with you on this. One of the areas and one of the reasons that the report gave was because of COVID and the fact that we are all kind of locked down, depending on where you are. The four of us are in 4 separate states. We were chatting beforehand how each of those 4 states has handled this differently. I tell people I'm from St. Louis. Technically, I am on the Illinois side of St. Louis, and so our fine state is getting ready to go back a step. I think it is for us, it's level 3 for us. That means no gyms, no restaurants, no nothing. So because of that, VR and AR apparently has become kind of a darling of investments and merger and acquisitions. This is also an area that folks have expressed an interest in a growth area for AV. I mentioned Kirsten and the Tide and the center stage. That is also something that people have kind of brought to that publication and that presentation to Infocom year after year. So Simon, is this an area for AV to finally get a hold of and get into, or have we missed the boat on this?
Oh no, yes. I'll elaborate and say not only yes, but here's why. One of the problems that we've always suffered from actually is bringing kit to customer site is, painful and expensive and linear and slow and not great. So the ability to use AR, particularly AR, right? Augmented is better than virtual, but whatever. Augmented reality to allow customers to actually experience a product or experience what it would look like in their environment is something that's really interesting, because a lot of people look at a piece of paper with a thing on it and go, but how does that actually work in my own world, right? Most people haven't actually got the great quality of imagination they think they do. And so the ability to see it in place is great. And as a small one, I did it recently with a big TV for my boys' playroom. I decided my 20-month-old needed a great big 4K 75-inch TV, and I went and bought him one. But I had to check that it worked. Was going to fit in the room the right size, because the 85 wasn't that much more. And so I tried it on my phone. It worked great. The ability to look at things like video conferencing rooms and see what they would look like without actually having to go in and put one together. Not only is that great in a COVID world, but it also scales in a post-COVID world. I think it's a lot of trends that were already in play are now accelerated. It's the old Steve, not Jobs, the other one, Microsoft one. Oh, Microsoft one.
Gates.
Thank you. You'd think I'd remember Steve Gates.
Steve Ballmer.
Bill Gates, even.
Bill Gates.
I'm very nervous, sorry, on this show. He said that most people wildly overestimate what can be achieved in a year, and wildly underestimate what can be achieved in 10. and this awful pandemic, I would argue, has accelerated a whole bunch of trends like video collaboration, like VR and AR, if not technologically, at least from an adoption perspective by something like that 10 years. We're seeing it in video space.
Yeah, I think at the end user level, we were seeing it already coming, right? So like, I know Fox Sports had invested in this technology a couple of years ago. AVNation did as well. And MSG, which is doing the big spheres, right, in London and then also in Vegas, they've got a version of this as part of those spaces. So customers were already thinking about it, and it's like, how do you reach more people, give them sort of an experience, and I think to new builds and things like that. We worked with a university in New Zealand that sort of did a version of this. They knew that like 2D images just weren't enough, but they were redoing everything on their campus, and they were thinking about their lecterns and their displays, et cetera. So they were able to model it, and it just helped them get budget. Right. So because it's not about maybe people don't have the imagination, but it's also there's something about fully having some sort of an experience where you can see what it's like when you're looking at it, moving around, the room. It really kind of gives you a chance to really ponder about what your needs really are. So I think this has just really accelerated things.
Yeah, I think there is an opportunity too for AV integrators like we haven't seen before. I was just talking with some people over at Gensler for a story I was writing about how customer experience centers and innovation centers can be repurposed right now. They're sitting empty and dormant. And they were talking about what I thought was a perfect new role for our industry. They were talking about the fact that there are all these new tools that are going to be implemented in various enterprise and all kinds of spaces. These are tools that will be part of our day-to-day life, now and into the future, especially as we adopt hybrid environments. We're going to be living in a hybrid world. We're not going to give up the freedom and the ability to have so many people, join in remotely without trouble. So AR and VR will be a regular part of everyday life, but they were talking about this new role of the facilitator in these environments. They were saying that where in the past, a lot of stuff would have been left to the IT department to manage workplace tools. Now the tools are actually more immersive, multimedia, sensory elements. And actually, it's going to require people who understand all of those elements and know how to incorporate them into the collaborative work environment in a meaningful way. And I really saw that as, that's our people, to be able to be in a room. And he actually said that there would be a need for people to choose the right tools for certain cultures in workplace and like education environments. There's going to be someone that needs to be an advisor on which tools fit their needs. And it's just like, you're describing the audio visual industry. So I think that, these will be another piece of the puzzle, but there definitely is still going to need to be someone who can help make it easy to use. So that's us.
Kirsten, don't you think it also is going to have this effect of allowing us to bring in new talent, younger talent, et cetera, because of this?
Exactly. That's exactly it. This suddenly makes it look like this is a spot, everyone who's been working within the VR and AR space already. Yeah, these are the next generation of people who are thinking in a multisensory way automatically. And when we talk about the gamification of everything, and we talk about being able to think in this type of visualization and how we might use it in meaningful ways, it's a chance to bring in new talent.
I would argue that the ability to bring in narrative to and give it a story. Why should I care? Rather, I wrote a piece years ago about factored to death at Infocom 2015 or 16 or something, because you go to every booth and everyone just tells you, well, and another, their opening line is, and another thing, here's a spec. And it's like, stop with the specs, talk to me about what actual problem you're solving. And AR and VR without narrative is simply just another tool.
Yeah.
And narrative is the future for everything. We definitely need to start thinking in terms of that instead of just what hardware we're putting in.
Yeah,
absolutely. All right, guys. Last story here comes to us from our friends over at AV Magazine. And by the time you have you're watching this, the AV Magazine Awards that will have been over. You can go back and watch them, I'm sure, on their website, avinteractive.com, and see me and Chris Netto in matching smoking jackets, I guess is the best way to put that outfit that we had on.
Smoking hot jackets.
Flammable jacket.
Smoking hot jackets. There we go. Smoking hot jackets. Okay.
More accurate, you look better on fire jackets.
There's the Simon I miss. All right. Shure is strengthening its focus on software solutions by announcing a strategic investment, not purchase, but a strategic investment in the Finnish software company, AVWeek. And I wanted to bring this up because one of the things that first of all, AVWeek does is they do a lot of live event software, and something that Shure has gotten into, as well as their wireless workbench for live events, plus their designer and the system on. Kirsten, one thing that I want to bring you in on this one when it comes to, an audio company, and Corey's here, so she's going to be able to speak to this as well, getting more and more into software, right? This is, we know Shure as microphones, right? That is what they're known for. But increasingly, just like a lot of other manufacturers, they're putting their focus on the software. I think it was this week or last week, they posted another position open up in Niles, just outside of Chicago, for another software engineer. So how important is this move to pure programming, pure software programming, going to be to the AV industry, especially on the manufacturing front going forward?
Yeah, I think this is definitely this is a plugin. This is an application. This is the ability for people to do this thing everyone's talking about called live streaming. I heard it was a thing people are doing now.
Yes.
But yeah, it's definitely interesting because it plays in all the markets that are valuable to them and to Shure and to all of us, actually. Just houses of worship and as events are on pause, being able to live stream. And everyone's looking for that actual, to use a super old word, turnkey solution. They want to be able to just go, oh, live streaming? Sure, we have that. And that's kind of what this is. This directly applies to, hey, you want an auto mixer that's already built in, that's doing the thinking for you. Here you go. And I think that's what it is. It's all about creating a bridge between the user and their immediate need, I think.
And understanding how important software is now in AV, right? So it's customers want less hardware and they want to do as much as they can with software. And when you have a name, a traditional name like Shure doing this, I just think it just adds, so much credibility to our industry. They're going to be wildly successful. They're going to they'll bring this into enterprise. They'll do many, many things with it. And it's interesting. This is an approach QSC has as well. I mean, we've been pitching for too long that we're really just we're a software company and trying to get our industry to think differently. And so it's great to see these guys on board with that.
Simon, you'll have the last word again. Manufacturer that is wholly in the software business.
Yeah, it's funny though, isn't it? That obviously Logitech, we're hardware all the way. We're keyboards and mice and video conferencing. And
I would disagree
boxes.
with that though. Yeah. Go ahead.
Remain calm. Let me finish the sentence. And the what I was about to say was right. We're hardware all the way, and actually more than half our engineers now are software engineers.
Yeah.
Because hardware without use of software in it is pointless. And of course, people are running off the shelf types of physical hardware in the sense at a component level, and therefore doing special secret sauce type stuff is vitally important. So yes, software is eating the world. I think now it's Steve Jobs' turn. Steve Jobs once said the best hardware companies build their own software, and I think that's true for everyone.
And he proved that out in several companies that he was with. So absolutely. All right, guys, that'll do it for us. Thank you all so much. Kirsten Nelson, thank you.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me. I always love being here.
And how do people get a hold of you if they want your fantastic wordsmith talents?
You can find me on the Twitter at Kirsten Nelson. That is my handle, much to an actress's chagrin. And that's probably the best way. And you can also find me on the LinkedIn.
All right, very good. Corey Schaefer, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. Great to be here and great to share this time with Simon and Kirsten as well. And you can find me on the Twitters. Usually I'm on it less and less lately, but I'll be on there at least once a day, I would say. And then you can find me on LinkedIn or Corey.Schaefer@qsc.com.
All right, very good. And by the time this posts, it will have been Corey's birthday. So if you haven't wished her a happy birthday, go do that right this second, right now, because it's on Saturday.
Tim.
So happy birthday, ma'am. Tomorrow.
Thank you.
Or 2 days ago, depending on when you're listening to this. Simon, thank you, sir.
Hey, thank you, Tim. Thank you, ladies. It was always a pleasure to be on the show. Obviously, I'm not on Twitter for, the legal reasons, but I am on LinkedIn. Just find me on Simon Dudley, and I write the occasional thing on there as well. So go and have a look, because some of it's pretty good, I think. Self-praise is no recommendation, but go and have a look anyway.
Some of it is pretty good. I'm not going to say which part is good, but some of it is. So, all right, very good. Thank you all so much. For Tim Albright, don't follow me on the Twitters, but go by the website if you would please, avnation.tv. That's avnation.tv. Find this program and a host of others, and while you're there, check out our supporter section. These are the folks who help us bring you AV Week and Resi Week and all the more, and QSD is one of those, and we thank them for their incredible support. Also, if you get a chance and you're not doing anything on December 10th, you can join me and my buddy Megan Dutta as we come together and bring you the AV Network Nation event. You'll get 4.75 CTS RUs by hanging out with us all day. I'm doing two sessions. One's on the AV over IP and the security of audio networking, and she is doing one on getting back to work and back to the office, as well as digital signage. So you can check that out at avnetworknation.com. Doesn't cost you anything. Just hang out with us all day, and we'll be doing a happy hour as well. So you can check that out. There'll also be a custom cocktail you can make
a signature cocktail.
A signature cocktail. So yes.
You say you can make yourself, surely.
You can make because we're all virtual. It's all the thing. This is the So we'll tell you what the ingredients are ahead of time, and if I have any say about it, it'll be gin. But that's
the next plug-in opportunity.
Exactly. So I'm just saying,
a Chrome browser plug-in for gin.
I'm just saying, Ryan Reynolds. Ryan Reynolds, if you're listening to this, I am totally for sale. Aviation gin is actually quite good. So all of that and more. The avnetworknation.com or our website, avnation.tv. That's avnation.tv. Thanks so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. That's all the time we have for AV Week.